How's it going, YouTube? Welcome back to my poker channel. My name is Andreas and usually I talk about poker news, poker life and poker strategy, but in this week I just talk about Mike Postle because this is what you guys want. I thought that one of my last contributions to this matter might be if I just look at some PLO hands, because after all I'm a PLO player. I'm just going to look at some of the footage. Let's get into it. The first hand that I found is, I think, pretty interesting also to analyze as a PLO hand itself. We have Mike Postle opening it up with the aces queen deuce, single suited to 40 after somebody straddles in the under the gun seat. Untypically here, a lot of the opponents fold because apparently they don't have that many whole cards. Also, someone folds with a king jack deuce. I found it rather untypical as well for Stone's Life. Mostly it's going to go multi-way. And actually, this could also have been a 3-bet, and not a straddle to 10. Maybe he just raised to 10 and this was a 3-bet. I mean, I don't know. The graphics say otherwise, but the graphics are often wrong, as we know. So we got 10, 7, 4 double suited cold calling. And then we got some interesting decision point, and I think I can help you guys also a little bit with a tip here. If, somebody 3-bets to a smaller sizing than pot, when you're deep stacked, they're usually saying that they have these single suited, double suited rundown types of hands. Usually also some of the weaker versions of the double suited connectivity, and they're 3-betting to a non-pot size so that when you go ahead and 4-bet, they're pretty much putting you on aces, and then they have a higher SPR post flop, which really benefits the 3-bet call 4-better because they are gonna know that you have aces for the most part. And but you don't want to do this. You don't want to give away the strength of your hand. 3-bet to full pot with aces, and then 3-bet to a non-full size pot size raise with the queen 10 9 8 single suited. But this is what JT does here, and let's see how Mike responds to that. In general, if you can get enough money in here pre-flop, and they're 1.6k deep, you're going to be looking to 4-bet most of your good aces. This is not particularly great aces, but it's also not too bad. I don't hate the 4-bet here because you're going to play an SPR of 1.3, but in general, when stack sizes get really deep, you want to even polarize yourself more and basically look to 4-bet double suited aces, strong single suited aces, and some double suited hands like ace 10 9 8 double suited, and just some premium stuff. Actually, it's even better sometimes if you're really deep to have the Broadway double suited hands like ace queen jack 10 double suited, because they dominated a lot of these other rundowns really badly. Just some couple of outlier combinations in there. Now the board comes queen 9 8 monotone. This is really a board that favors the 3-bet caller in terms of equity. On this board, queen 9 8, the 3-bet caller JT has a lot of 2-pair. He has a lot of straights. He has a bunch of flushes, of course, as well, that are to the nuts. He could have the ace-high flush still, but he could also have a lot of the other flushes. Because there's 3 monotone cards, there's 3 cards of diamonds, some of the flushes are actually not possible, or it's like a straight flush directly, but yeah, there's going to be lots of them. And there's also going to be more sets in the 3-bet caller's range, so all in all, a lot of equity. And the problem here for the 4-better is he's going to have a lot of aces. If he does not have the nut flush at this point, he basically whiffs the board completely unless his side cards to the aces somehow make 2-pair on this board or straight. But it's just not that great for the 4-better in terms of equity. And yeah, that's why also the out of position, because he has so much more equity, could put in a really small bet here because of pushing some equity. The SPR is still a little bit over 1. Pretty much, for example, if you had like some 2-pair, protecting your equity a little bit against aces and just making aces fold right away, especially if aces doesn't connect with this board, might be good play. You're basically taking the option away of the in-position player, just checking back the aces and potentially hitting some equity turn card, which in this case doesn't really matter. And this is going to be extremely untypical of Mike Postle because he puts in 500, not a feeler bet, not something like 150. He puts in 500, being close to drawing that with 8% of equity. So untypical of Mike. Like, what is happening with the poker god in this hand here? We don't know. And then JT has an easy shove. He has 3-pair, diamond blocker, a straight draw. Like, he's just basically toast against a nut flush. I mean, still drawing to a couple of outs in a really low SPR pot. Cannot get away from this hand, of course. And we haven't seen Mike Postle snap fold yet. Why is this happening? Let's also have a look at his, the way he behaves. Like, at the moment now he's leaning forward. Doesn't really look down at his lap anymore, trying to pick up something. His opponent even shows him a card here. He doesn't really have any idea where he's at this point. He's laughing again, sometimes he also laughs when he's behind and not just when he basically laughs in his opponent's face, just crushing them all day long, apparently. But he doesn't know what to do here at all. He gets great pot odds at this point. He has to call 803.4k, so his equity has to be around 22% maybe. Is that did I calculate that correctly off the fly? And even worse, like, he puts in now the money being close to dead, just having 8%. So I don't think the call off is going to be the tell, but like, yeah, him putting in that huge bet in this low SPR situation, with a really weak hand, that is basically not really showing the typical Mike that we know of. And yeah, let's go on to the next hand and see some more PLO play of Mike Postle. Here we go forward to the flop. And this is something that basically shows Mike Postle's multi-way game. That's why I picked this hand, because whereas in multi-way poker on 10-9-7 monotone, you want to be looking to mainly bet with the nut spade blocker or the nut spades or the straight flush, of course, the 6-8 of spades and the jack-8 of spades, and then occasionally like top set and maybe a high blocker as well, to just also have some boats and some turns. But you're basically looking to bet hands with a lot of equity. Mike goes even as low as betting his 3 pair here without a single spade in his hand. I don't like that play at all. If his opponent now pot raises, he has to basically put in a bunch of money, which not errors. And like, he blocks some of his opponent's continue, but he has like no idea like how many spades his opponents have. And it's just not the hand, I think, to be looking to bet with on this monotone board. But he does it a lot in Hold'em as well. But it's just something that I saw over hours of footage. That sometimes Mike still puts in a bet when he flops a little bit of a piece of it, and sometimes he does not. And if you go really deep into it, you might see something there too. Now, this is something where Mike has a marginal flop peel, which he does actually peel with. He has an overpair, is a 7 and a backdoor. Backdoor straight draw, backdoor flush draw, so it's still 4-way. It's not great, such a great spot to be in, I would say, especially being then out of position for the whole hand. Is in the small blind here. But the reason why I selected this hand is not the flop peel, because the turn goes check through and we get to the river, and now all the guys with the overpairs throw in the check, whereas then Dave on the button, all of a sudden puts in this huge bet, I think pot size, right? He basically overbets here, but he can only bet like 325. I think the dealer tells him here that's like the bet. And now watch Mike. This is, by the way, still in this 1-3 game where he lost a bunch of money. He rebought for 4k in the session. He was actually losing in the session. Can you believe it? And leans forward. Now this time, you see him looking down in the same session as he punted off huge chips to his opponents. I don't know what's happening here. Thinks about it. Can I call here with 2 people left behind? Has he picked up on the fact that DJ Hughes has a pair of aces and might overcall if he calls here? So he lets his hand go. And now this hand gets really weird because Chase, not really having the greatest bluff catcher. Like, he has an overpair, yes, but the second pair of 10s is actually a bad hand to have, blocking some of the 10-9, some of the with straight draws that could bluff with. Dave, by the way, also having a really horrible hand to bluff with. First of all, he could have been good 5 to 10% of the time with his overpair of 9s, even though it's really rare, but he still beats 8-7. and you know, some of the ace high hands like ace jack 10-9 or you know, just generally some straight draws. So he had some short melody still turning into bluff, and now Chase calls, the other guy folds aces. Really weird hand. And then also you can see Mike down here throwing his hands in the air. Well, this is what I would have done, right? Why didn't he do it here? Why didn't he, despite looking down, and maybe possibly picking up some information? And was he afraid of the aces, or did he just not think, or did he not cheat at this point, basically? A fourth hand was happening in a 5-5 game, which I also selected here. This was another session, so it's a secondary session that I'm basically looking at here, not the 1-3. So it's a second session that I found where something really untypical happens. We got a 9-9-4 board here. We go 5-way to the flop. You know, here basically looking to bet your trips at some point, your full houses. Really strong draw with an 8 blocker. You want to block your opponent's, you know, boats. So blocking an 8, if you don't have the 9 yourself, is going to be the main, you know, blocker that you're basically looking for, or just have some combo equity, a straight draw with a flush draw. Beast here chooses a really, really weird hand. He just blocks a pair of 4s with his queen jack 7-4. Definitely not the hand you want to be bluffing here with. And now Mike Postle, I think, should be folding here at this point against a multi-way bet. And I think he's also out of position again in the small blind. Like check calling here with ace high and a draw is definitely not what you want to do with versus a 5-way bet. Your opponents could have boats. Your opponent has a lot of trips. And also he could be drawing to a higher flush than yours. You have only king high diamonds and you have only an open and a straight draw, which, you know, on a jack turn doesn't even turn in that straight despite the board still being paired, right? So definitely not looking to continue here. And Mike still makes a little bit of a donk call here. I mean, not saying like it's super minus severe, but it's definitely going to be losing some money on average. The river is the ace of clubs, not completing the flush. Mike just has the 10 of clubs. And again, on this river, if his opponent wasn't boated up, like ace-9 now gets there, then now he's also beaten by a lot of the semi-bluffs that his opponent's likely not going to have diamonds because Mike has diamonds himself, and he's going to have a lot of clubs. So if his opponent was semi-bluffing on a turn, then now he got there, or he had a boat already. So that leaves Mike with the worst hand, like almost always. Here, weirdly enough, he does have the best hand here. His opponent bets. And usually, when somebody bets with the worst of it, with a pure bluff against a poker god, we know what's happening, right? Let's see what the commentators say.
No, I shouldn't say Postle's hand is too good. His hand isn't good. It's really, really marginal. It would be fine if it was Hold'em. But I meant to say Postle's just too good. Oh, is he going to fold? Oh, he folds. Fold. Wow.
I mean, wow. How did he fold that hand? He has a really marginal hand that he should have folded on a turn already, but wow. Mike Postle folded the best hand here on the river. How is that ever happening? Now, I just want to quickly mention also that before I make some wrap-up thoughts here, that I do have a playlist on my YouTube channel where basically I was following the whole Mike Postle thing over the last week, and I put in all the videos in the Mike Postle archive. So if you're interested in, you know, what's been happening, what's been going down, why he allegedly might have been cheating, just click on this playlist. You can find out all the videos that people have been making. There's some new evidence in there, some new thoughts of people. Basically, you have to go and check that out if you want to know all the details. Now, why has Mike Postle in PLO failed so hard? Why is he such a PLO fish and such a no limit hold'em god? We don't know that. Is it that much harder? If you have seen Doug Polk's video in PLO, you know, he was clearly a little bit frustrated with RFID not picking up his cards. But why did he know that it didn't pick up his cards? It's really awkward. And in some other PLO sessions, I think he made some really questionable plays that actually got through. So maybe on some other sessions, he was successfully cheating, but not in these two that I've seen. So let me know in the comment section below what you thought of Mike's PLO game and these hands. You know, have you seen some of these other footage playing PLO? What happened there? Why didn't he not crush his opposition? Why did he have to rebuy and lost at PLO? questions after questions, but this is really something weird, something really untypical. And also you see the commentators, they are wondering, like, why does Mike Postle now lose all of a sudden when he was just completely crushing his rather weak opposition in Nolan Hold'em all day? It might have been just because of 2 extra cards and him just not seeing them in time. So maybe time is a factor. Matt Berkey putting out a new video up just today where he talked about time possibly being a factor. And yeah, basically that is how it comes down to his PLO play. He played like a donk, he lost money. I think he actually didn't even make money over all his PLO sessions if we factor in the rebuys, and just basically obliterated his opponents in Nolan Hold'em. Why has that been the case? Let me know in the comment section below. Thanks guys for watching this video, and I'm gonna see you for the next one.